We can invite Dr. Pandit to give a kind of welcome, and then we'll start the session. Yes, Pandit Jaggi, ma'am, you are cordially invited to start the session. Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all who have joined here with us on the virtual mode once again. We are so glad to have so many luminaries, so many thinkers, philosophers, and critics of literature with us today. Literature is something that we need to actually relish with our minds, with our palate, with our senses, and with our intellect. And so this is again another event, a much awaited event in which we are going to make so many discussions, deliberations, fruitful talks, and healthy debates as well. So I, on the behalf of Azad International Foundation India, and also Vishwanidham Center for Asian Blossom in Puducherry and Chennai, I most cordially welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen, to this online virtual event, which is the world premiere of Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand's mega epic, recently published, Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, and also the International Symposium on the Semantic Universe of Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand. Dr. Anand is a personality we need not define, and we have been looking at his works and the output of his energies all through the conferences and the events so far. This is yet another signature conference to actually dedicate our views or our analysis towards his mega epic work today, which is again a path-breaking work of literature in today's era. So for this event, I'm so thankful to all the luminaries, all the thinkers who have joined this session with us for this deliberation. Most especially, I would like to welcome and thank the great writers, the senior academicians who've joined us today, especially our chairperson, Dr. BASUDEB CHAKRABORTI. We also have our special guests in the form of Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI, Dr. MAJA HERMAN SEKULIC from Serbia, Dr. Brad MODLIN from US, ARINDAM Royji, Dr. Kulbhushan RAZDAN, Dr. Lalit Mohan Sharma ji, Dr. BAJRAM REDZEPAGIC from Australia, Shri BHAGIRATH Choudhary ji, Dr. Anand Giri, Ambassador Lujo Bomir, Leslie Bush, Ashok Bhargav ji, Zignew Roth, Dr. SWARAJ Raj, Dr. T.S. Anand, Dr. Dalvinder Singh Grewal, Dr. Naeem Mushtaq Sahab, Professor Brahm Jagdish Singh ji, Shri Vinod Khanna ji, Dr. I.T. Singh, Dr. Madam LAKSMISREE Banerjee, Dr. Moli Joseph, Tariq Muhammad Sahib, Mukul Kumar ji, Dr. BINA Singh, Dr. Rahim Karim from Kyrgyzstan, Deepa Chandran Ram Madam, Professor Mandakini Bhattacharya, Dr. Suneet Madan, Ravi Ranganathan ji, Raj Babu Gandhan ji, Saranya, and our colleagues Tejaswini, Savita, Sushminder Jeet, and so many other academicians, writers, creative souls who are going to speak on Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, and also be with us as an audience. I, on the behalf of the entire team of organizers of Azad Foundation and Vishwanidham Center, I welcome you all on board. Thank you, sir. Over to Randhirji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandit Jaggi. Now, first I would like to invite author of today's session and author of the book, Lustus. So before inviting him, let me give a kind of brief introduction of Azad Foundation. Azad Foundation India is a kind of charitable trust aimed at organizing literary and social emulation activities. The founder and the foundation, under the chairmanship of Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand, has organized 3 international poetry conferences and run a free Azad Litrary in which books are provided free of cost. This present symposium is also a part of series of literary activities of the foundation, and this is the event which is very remarkable in the sense like it is a very excellent book. We got a lot of curiosity and a lot of writings about this book in a very short span of time. So first I would like to invite author of Lustus, Dr. Jandal Singh Anand, to share a few words about his book.
Thank you so much. Am I visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And audible too, hopefully.
Yes.
So friends, I'm thankful to you for being with us here on this auspicious occasion when today we are going to release Lustus. Dr. BASUDEB Chakraborti, chairman of this session, and my dear colleagues, Dr. MAJA, HERMAN, SEKULIC, MODLIN, BAJRAM, REDZEPAGIC, Dr. SWARAJ, Dr. LALIT SHARMA, Vinod Khannaji, and so many other great souls gathered here. I welcome you all to this rare assembly. It is rare because today we are going to release, or in other words, anoint Lustus as the reigning deity of the kingdom of darkness. Some of the friends have sent me good wishes, and I must mention their names. Dr. Nizar Sartawi from Jordan, Dr. Pedapudi Rama Rao, who is a very senior academician and not keeping good health. Then there is Marlene Passini from Mexico, Mirzana from Herzegovina, so many other friends who are not finding it, time. Before I say anything about Lustus, I am duty bound to express my deep thanks and appreciation for Professor Rantir Gautam for organizing this program. Dr. Ananta Giri and my colleagues, Dr. Praneeth Jaggi, Dr. Saranya Francis, Kiran Grover, who have helped in imparting this program a virtual reality. Today, we are shaking hands with Lustus, the Prince of Darkness. Prior to this, we have met Satan in Paradise Lost and Dr. Faustus in Christopher Marlowe's Great Tragedy. This epic drama takes up from Satan, who, as the time passes, grows weak and old, and finds it difficult to cope with the increased tensions of holding the world. Lustus is a young cousin, a neo-mythological being who is anointed the Prince of Darkness, and Satan's daughter Amazenia is designated to help him in the conduct of administration. You will see it is a work of fiction and neo-mythology. Also many new characters you will meet here. The role of the writer in writing is like the role of a father in bearing a child, marked with uncertainties. Marked with uncertainties. You are never sure what you are doing. How and when conception takes place, how it evolves, and when delivered, how much pain and how much relief a mother feels. These states are beyond description. Man lives life in the passive mode. I often say man has no control over his birth, on his face, on his features, on the color of his skin, and then over his mind too. Things are just happening to him. In the same way, writing too happens to the writer. Up till now, we have been studying Paradise Lost, Satan, and Faustus, who were created or brought to the literary view in 15th or 16th centuries. Much water has flowed down the rivers since those times, and evil has not remained that passive onlooker it used to be. Previously, what happened? Evil would prey on people in their innocent moments. In Paradise Lost, we see Eve being tempted. Lustus shows the fallout of that temptation has worked into human blood and how knowledge has devastated the innocence of creation. The armies of devil have grown, and Lustus is an ambitious prince who takes pride in evil and knows the arts of uncivil engineering. He has amassed a huge army of teachers, technocrats, scientists, advocates, and has established in Lastonia his own constitution, which he calls Lustitution. Justify has been replaced with lustify, and justice has been replaced with the word lustus. He is a great premier, more powerful, more blessed with management skills. He represents our humanity more closely, more appropriately, and more dangerously. So here are 4 lines about him. It is not God. Generally, we think it is God's creation. But we may now differ with this thing also. It is not God, but Lustus, who in the loftiest sense represents humanity in all its variegated essence. Yeats in the second coming presages the falling apart of the universe and the re-emergence of an apocalyptic being at the end of the 20th century. Every yuga has witnessed a great epitome of evil who has to be overthrown by some great prophet. It was Ravana in Treta and Kamsa and Duryodhan in Dwapar. In Kali Yuga, the evil is not epitomized in one personality. It is dispersed. It is present in lethal doses in human beings because now the majority of people have lost their innocence. Lustus represents the 5 negative aspects of human character as envisaged in Sikhism. Sikhism alerts us against 5 vices. They are Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ankar, which means lust, anger, avarice, attachment, and pride. Lustus represents all these faculties of depraved minds. Although a new mythological being, he stands tall like Ravan, so far as evil of modern times is concerned. And it is his perversity, pervasiveness, which threatens gods as well as the good in the cosmos. His homovid vaccine, those who have read it, they will have known it, but is a homovid vaccine, is great threat to life on earth, its innocence and godly order. He has to be overthrown like Ravan, like Duryodhana, like Kamsa. And here in the epic, the Asuras, the Rakshas, the demons are rightly outdone by Durga. This epic drama tries to expose the chinks in God's plans. We always believe that God is a great planner, then why Lustus? And aims at strengthening the moral fiber of society so that we lead better, richer, and happier lives. So, friends, this is what I had to say about it. And now I request Professor Randhir Gautam to go ahead with the proceedings. And before we go further, I would like my friends and Dr. BASUDEB Chakraborti to formally release the book. If you have the books, please show it up.
Thank you. This is Lustus, an epoch making. It's a book that introduces this, that shows an epoch making publication, to my opinion. And I believe everybody will agree. This is one of the epoch making publications during this time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So with your blessings, this book stands released, and Lustus has been released into the cosmos. So now please, Gautamji, go ahead with your further proceedings.
Thank you. Thank you so much for excellent deliberation in terms of the very introductory speech. Now, I would like to invite Honorable Chair of today's session, Dr. Basudev Chakraborty. Basudev Chakraborty is a former professor of English and faculty dean of the University of Kalyani. After obtaining the master's degree in English from Calcutta University, he left for another master's program in English from the University of Houston, Texas, USA, followed by the PhD degree on Thomas Hardy. He has authored a dozen valuable books, including his major work, Thomas Hardy's View of Happiness. I will be brief in introducing the speakers so that we can have more time for discussing ideas of Lustus. So may I invite Dr. Vasudev Chakraborty to kindly share his view on the book Lustus.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all creative writers, erudite scholars, and professors of repute, and others who are the lovers of literature. Dr. JAFRI, who is also present, whom I follow in one of the social domains regularly, and a very sensible writer, and Dr. J.S. Anand of a very enduring personality. Really, I am elated with joy this evening to make only one comment. I will add one more comment to this context of the publication of Lustus. What I want to say is that it is one of the marvelous poetic creations of Dr. J.S. Anand. Lustus is unique. This is the only word now I use. It is unique in its appeal to the readers, because this creation is a superb match between the form and content. I mean, usually it is found there is a mismatch between the content and the form. But excellently, there is a perfect match between the form of this creation, of this poem, and its content. So far as the content of this concerned, it creates different and simultaneous moods in a different way in my mind while reading this poem. First of all, while reading the poem, I first think it is satirical in nature. There is a banter, there is a spleen against all kinds of injustice, criminality, all kinds of frivolity, recklessness, and whatnot. It's a kind of an attack to the evils of contemporary modern society. And definitely, I shifted my attention from Lustus to present crisis in the world. It's a kind of madness. What should I say? I shouldn't say it is an example of stupidity. It's a kind of madness, insanity. And we are trying to destroy ourselves. It's a thing which will annihilate the mankind. What is this? While reading this book, I first think it is satirical in nature. Equally, I understand Lustus is a mock epic poem because satire, banter, harsh banter is still in almost everywhere in the poem. It's a mock epic poem, but at the same time, I get an impression that the subject matter of this poem is not at all trivial as the subject matter of Alexander Pope, the rape of the lost. I mean, cutting off hair of a lady Belinda belonging to the upper strata of the society. That was the content of this poem, mock epic poem, rape of the law. It is not a rape of, it is not like the rape of the law. Or it is unlike Dryden's MacPherson, where a famous line, which still I remember, shadow will never deviate into sense. Really, the world is now replete with some shadows. In the language of Carlyle, in his Hero and Hero Worship, Carlyle says, a soldier is a hero, is also a hero. A poet is also a hero. A man who works for the society is also a hero. Everybody is a hero. But now we find a lot of heroes in their villainous role. I mean, all these ideas started coming to my mind while reading this book. Actually, this poem presents a serious and thoughtful problem of modern life, that is millennium-old organized machination. I am using this word, organized machination, organized conspiracy against the love, honesty, basic goodness of mankind. Sometimes I feel that this poem is neo-mythical nature. But neo-mythical, I do not really know whether this eye-arresting and thought-provoking adjectival word, neo-mythological, is in vogue today in English or not. I don't know it. But if this word is acceptable to native speakers of English, definitely this word may appropriately describe Lustus to neo-mythology. One of the interesting aspects of this poem is that the poet has very adroitly contemporized the ancient myth of Dr. Faustus, ancient Hindu myth of the Ramayana, even reference to Oedipus Rex. All these are found in this great creation. Next, I feel that as I was progressing my reading of the poem, I started feeling that Dr. Anand has put old wine in a new bottle. As I progressed in my reading, I understood the content of this poem may be left to readers. Let the readers decide its meaning. This poem may be understood from the point of view of reader's response theory. I just casually mention here the name of Hans Robert Just, 1921 to 1997, the exponent of reader's response theory. The point of view of the theory of, varieties of text, varieties of text may be constructed by different readers. The poem should be left to readers' interpretation. Practically, I feel mixed feelings in my mind. Maybe it is a postmodernist poem because it is open-ended. It is not close-ended. It is open-ended. It is open-ended. So it is one of the features of postmodernism is open-endedness without any resolution. And this war between the bad and the good will be perennial, according to Dr. Anand. At the end of this poem, he has stated it. So, how does Dr. Anand keep this old wine in a new bottle? The form prose in poetry, number one. It is a form prose in poetry. Second, a form of stern banter and sarcasm in comic attire. Next, a form of allegory and a form of some fictional figures like lust comes from lustus, greed plus comes from grida. This is my assumption. Amazonia comes from Amazon. This is my understanding. That's all. All these characters are not English names, not even Oriental names. They are Dr. Anand's poems, his own poems. Next, it is written in epic form because this poem has an epic grandeur. There is a cosmic war between the good and the bad. But the problem is, if I consider it form, if I consider this poem is an epic poem, then epic style is missing. Though invocation to the muse is found at the beginning of this poem. There is an invocation at the very beginning of this poem. But what about epic grandeur? What about that loftiness? What about that highfalutin speech of an epic hero? What is that tragic note? All these are also absent here. So I cannot say it's an epic, but qualities of epic poems are found. Quality of mock epic are found. Qualities of satire, allegory, symbols, all are there. All these are actually blended. For that reason, it is unique. The last one, it is written in epic form because this poem has an epic grandeur. I mean, I'm talking about the content. The war is a war of cosmic level. That is a war. There is a war. War between the good and the bad. Greta is not good. She represents something bad, something evil. In sentences, it may be said, in one sentence, it may be said that the form and the meaning, including pragmatics, both have multiple shades of opinion of different readers. One thing about this poem is that it includes the world perspectives, the past and the present. The problem of the war, the problem or the war Dr. Anand presented in this poem is the problem not only of contemporary world, but also of the remotest, but also the world of the remotest past of our modern civilization. It is a perennial crisis of mankind. Thank you, sir. I conclude here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Basudev, for invoking the very deep insights of Lustus. Now, I'm going to invite Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI Sahab. Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI was a professor of English. He resides in New York. He is an author of 32 books of poetry and philosophy. He writes in English, Persian, and Urdu and Hindi. He is a poet, columnist, a scholar, and political activist. May I invite Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI to share his thoughts, ideas about Lustus. Yes, sir. Kindly unmute yourself, sir. Yes.
Yes, please now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, fine.
Thank you very much. First of all, I am very much thankful to you and all of the friends sitting here, particularly Dr. Janal Singh Anand, who's the author of the book, and the respected chairman, Dr. Dev, who just spoke excellently. And he briefed us and the people, the audience, the worldwide. Of course, he's also a great scholar, and I feel pleasured to be virtual in the company of illustrious luminaries, erudites, savants, and scholars. So actually, I had written a note, you can say the review on the book. Yes, I don't say that's very comprehensive, but I wrote something, and I'm thankful to Mr. Dr. Anand that he also published on the back cover of that his book. So whatever he wrote here, just I would like to read 2-3 lines and then a few words because the time is very short. Well, he has just on the back of the back cover of the book, he has written that Dr. JAFRI writes that Aristotle, in his book titled The Poetics, says that every play and literary work must end showing the victory of virtue and defeat of vice, so that human society is purged from ills and evils. Great literary scholars and poets like Dr. Johnson, T.S. Eliot, Sheikh Sadi, Dr. Iqbal, and Altaf Hussain Hali promoted didacticism in literature to change the world by making it the kingdom of God, which is the kingdom of light. The kingdom of Satan is the kingdom of darkness. I feel it pertinent to proclaim that, like John Milton, whose paradise regained and paradise lost, show us the ways of God to man. Similarly, Lustus, the prince of darkness of Dr. Janal Singh Anand, takes us out from the dark and dreary dungeons of evil and shows us the bright ways of God to man. Now, this is very short, I can say, excerpt that he has quoted. Well, I have read this book thoroughly, and you know, as other friends also mentioned about Milton's Paradise Lost and Marlowe's Dr. Faustus, and also Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock, very sunny epic. Basically, the message of Dr. Anand, which I could decipher, discern from this epic, is that the Lustus, who is the inheritor of Satan, he wants to disorder the cosmic plan, and on the other side, he wants to disrupt and corrupt the human society, culture, philosophy. And this is the basic thing that I could understand, that this epic, as far as the content is concerned, respected, the chairman has elaborately discussed it, that it is very fine, it is inclusive about human society. He criticizes the modern politician, the scientist, the businessman, different sections of society, that who are the exploiters, the oppressor, the transgressor, the terrorists, the evil forces in the society, and the excessive knowledge of science. And they have produced atheists, materialists, Marxists, the people who don't believe in spirituality and God. So we see that there's a message of humanity, there's a message of spirituality, there's a message of progress and positivity. And as it's a fight between vice and virtue, or good or evil. So as Aristotle says that the basic aim and end of the play or the writing should be that eventually, ultimately, the virtue wins, because that is the way to promote didacticism, morality, and to maintain the social order of any society. Whatsoever the prophets had said, the social philosophers, they also believed in social norms. Ethical norms are common in the whole world, in all religions. So what I could understand, and this is, of course, as far as the language is concerned, Dr. Anand, he is an Indian, he is not born American or born British, but his language is so facile, so charming, that one really gets amazed about his mastery over English language and the way he has very eloquently expressed his views as a philosopher and as a poet. So, in brief, I can say that I would like to suggest the intellectuals that they should read this book and promote this ideology. This ideology is the ideology of nobility, of humanity, of fraternity, of universality. And these are the basic human values that the writers, the philosophers, and the poets, they should promote. As Matthew Arnold and T.S. Eliot, they were very much serious about the seriousness of literature. Because literature or poetry, it is a prophetic mission. It is a divine mantra. It is an ideology that must be spread, that must be publicized and promoted. So this book is a universal book. And to me, it is immortal, because spirituality, soul is immortal. My book, Philosophy of Soul, one of my books, as far as I have written on the concept of self, ego, and soul, and spirituality, I believe that a spiritual person is a universal person. I would like to say that there's a difference between a religious person and a spiritual person. A religious person is, of course, a spiritual person, but he looks at the things from his own glasses. Maybe you have some prejudices or some traditional or dogmatic rituals and rites. But the spirit of all religious rites and rituals is also humanity. If there's no humanity, there's no poetry, there's no philosophy, there's no religion. So I say that Lustus, the prince of darkness, has been defeated by the spiritual forces. So divinity has won, and profanity or darkness has lost. And this should be the mission of writers. And there are so many other scholars who are going to speak, so I would not like to take more time. I again feel greatly indebted to friends and Dr. Anand and other scholars who provided me this chance. And I again say that this is a book that is one of the best books written in English literature. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. MAQSOOD JAFRI Sahab, for your kind and encouraging words about Lustus. May I invite Sri ARINDAM Roy, if he's there. Sir, are you there? Miss.
He had some issues with Wi-Fi.
Okay, no
You
problem.
can go on with
Then may I invite Dr. Lalit Mohan Sharma? I think he is there. Yes.
yeah.
Dr. Sharma is well known in literary circles for his love of sharing English language and literature. His academic proficiency as a teacher is evident from his guided research work to the scholars, and his skills bloom in multiple papers published in various journals over 4 decades. So may I invite Dr. Lalit Mohan Sharma to share his insights on Lustus.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I must greet Dr. Anand for writing such a engaging poem, and it, as it engages us, it also enlightens and illumines about life. I've written a review for the book, which is carried by the main book that was just released. But I think I'll, keeping in view the time factor and the speakers at this Zoom meeting, I'll read some parts of it. The opening para and the last lines, I think, will give an idea of what kind of a poem I find it. Now, it begins with, the title is The Continuum Conundrum. The Continuum Conundrum, reading Jarnail Singh Anand's epic poem, Lustus. Comprehensive in his literary inventions and creative approach, Jarnail Singh Anand records a fascinating journey into human condition across eons of human history, continents and centuries of action and thought, epics as also mythologies. T.S. Eliot spoke of the truly modern mind as one being simultaneously aware of the contemporary and the primitive. This thought is also reflected in his concepts of tradition and individual talent. Obviously, there is a variation in emphasis and context. Anand, in conceptualizing Lustus as Prince of Darkness, has brought into an entertainingly imaginative and liberal intersection between Judah, Christian, and Hindu mythologies, dramatized literary sources from the West as also from the East, English poets and the prophets like Buddha, Christ, Mahavir, the Sikh gurus, and inserted in contemporary scenario Adam's Garden of Eden. Invocation tells us that the aim of Lustus is to justify the ways of man to God. Subversion of Milton's epic zeal is preceded by the poet's submission in his preface. It is not God, but Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, who in the loftiest sense represents humanity in all its variegated essence. Now, from this, I just move on to the last part of the word of J.S. Anand's Lustus is authentically existential, with its political, social, moral, spiritual dimension intact, even as the subversion is all pervasive. According to Lustus, the plan is to corporatize and finally imperialize. To corporatize and finally imperialize. The target is not only the visible world. The target now is not only visible world. The real assault is on the virtual mind, the air, the soul, and the consciousness of mankind. Man can't have a reason to complain. Man can't have a reason to complain, for have we not provided him mobile phone? Have we not redesigned Apple, the source of all knowledge, and placed the world in his palm? Yet, what is amiss is the burden of Anand's epic poem. It is to retrieve and reinvent the life. What he means is to retrieve and reinvent life, as Eliot put it in one of the Coast of the Rock play. We have lost in living. Where is our life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, is General Anand's artistic quest for the wisdom lost in the mundane trivia. It's his artistic quest or the wisdom lost in the mundane trivia of artificial intelligence. The poem is an invitation each of its readers to discover his own answers. The poem is an invitation to each of the readers to discover his own answers. So it's not just open-ended. We join the quest. We take time to have responses and join Dr. Anand in this epic quest and journey. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for a very deep, insightful idea. And you really beautifully invoked the beauty of Lustus in terms of ideas, thought, and traditions. May I invite Dr. SWARAJ. Dr. SWARAJ is a former head of Department of English from Punjab. He is a great seeker of insights of literature. May I invite Dr. SWARAJ to share his words and insights about Lustus.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andhir. I believe I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Well, in the very beginning, I would like to thank all the organizers, Dr. Janayal, Anand, my dear friend, for inviting me, but prior to that, for writing this beautiful book. And congratulations to him that the book is being released today at such a gala function, although it is a virtual function. When I was reading Lustus, what I realized was that it is not a voluminous text. Not very slim either, but not voluminous at the same time. Yet it is a sprawling, dense text that took me quite some time to go through. It makes many allusions to scriptures and many literary works, beginning with the ancient Greek classical to the contemporary. In doing so, it weaves into its narrative contemporary socio-political conditions, setting up a comparison with similar events in the past depicted in epics and folklore. This is something which Dr. Lalit Mohan also talked about just now, while referring to T.S. Eliot's idea of tradition and individual talent. In its structure, which resembles the game of snakes and ladders, keeps pendulating between pre-modern theocratic world and its own gratuitous evil and digital future dominated by the fears of artificial intelligence. And en route, Dr. Anand's devouring sensibility leaves nothing out. It's a difficult, definitely a tall order for a reader like me, actually. Add to it the stylistic ingenuity that combines hyperbole, irony, ludic satire, seriousness, epic traditions, and their parody. In a word, it's a troubling, intertextual amalgam of a narrative. There are contending, conflictual viewpoints that are irresolvable, giving the impression that it is a postmodern text, valorizing radical distrust of all worldviews. However, the text is not mesmerized by postmodern schizophrenia, pastiche, and unreliable narrator or narrators in this case. It has a stable moral center in cosmic voice and chorus. If time permits, I'll like to come back to it again. But for the time being, I'll just like to plunge into the text. To me, this text, more than anything else, is primarily an investigation into the problem of evil. Evil which was there in the past and is present even today. This is stated in the clearest terms in the epilogue. I want to quote from the epilogue. The cosmos is a divided house. The good is well balanced by the presence of evil. Which previous era, Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, was free from evil? The only difference that we find in Kali Yuga is that evil is not personified in one person as it was in Ravan or Kansa or Duryodhan. In the text, we encounter different forms of evil. We have evil as depicted in scriptures, that evil which is a direct antithesis of virtue. We see it in the form of Satan and his fallen comrades. Then we have terrestrial avatars of evil like Faustus, Ravan, Kans, and Duryodhan, and some other monsters. We have references to natural evils like earthquakes and other such calamities. All these types of evil fall into the rational domain of retributive justice. The evildoers meet their tragic end for their sins. Then we have neo-mythological evil represented by Lustus, Amazinia, and others. Such characters are a cross between scriptural evil, mythological evil, and fictional representations of evil. We have references to overt, hard, and gratuitous evil also, represented by dictators like Hitler's, Putin's, Idi Amin's, rapists who kill innocents like Lucy Gray. This is an incident in the book, which adds a lot of contemporary relevance to this text. And many other types of violent people. Evil shocks us, but still we can put our fingers on it. This kind of evil that I've been talking about, hard evil, it shocks us, but we can put our fingers on it. The text also makes a clear case for evil and fear being Siamese twins. Lustus wants to instill fear in human hearts. We know the so-called strong, muscular, and patriarchal nationalist regimes are actually empires of fear. The most dangerous form of evil, however, is the one that comes disguised as love and goodness. This evil is difficult to define, and it is difficult to put our finger on. In this text, Lustus wishes to infect people with this kind of evil. This evil is banal. It is commonplace. It is covert and hence difficult to fight. Hannah Arendt, I'm reminded of all the time when I was reading what Lustus is trying to do. I was thinking of Hannah Arendt and the trial of that butcher of the Jews, Eichmann. This is the kind of evil Hannah Arendt had teased out of banality. This is the kind of evil out of which Hannah Arendt had teased banality. And this banal evil is represented by, modern banal evil is represented by Adolf Eichmann. Hannah Arendt witnessed his trial in Jerusalem in 1961. During the trial, it turned out that he was merely an obedient bureaucrat who was simply doing his duty. Hannah Arendt writes, half a dozen psychiatrists had certified him as normal. Not only normal, but more desirable, most desirable. And finally, the minister who had paid regular visits to him in prison after the Supreme Court had finished hearing the appeal reassured everybody by declaring Eichmann to be a man with very positive ideas. Now, Zygmunt Bauman suggests in his book, Liquid Fear, that Eichmann's conduct personifies liquid evil because difficult moral and ethical questions are elided in favor of action. Somebody goes and kills someone. When he is told to do so by his officers, his bosses, like what is happening in Ukraine right now, the army is killing people, innocents, and they are doing it all in the name of their duty. So the difficult questions, moral questions are elided in this kind of conduct. Now, modern bureaucracy, technocratic machinery, and unceasing consumerism promoted by post-industrial capitalism are the fount of liquid evil. Such evil hacks the human mind and enslaves us in the name of good. We are told repeatedly that there is no alternative to it. Tina, this is what we learn almost every day. There is no alternative to it. In Canto 9, Lustus makes clear the nature of the liquid evil. There is, I am quoting from the text, there is no threat to our existence because we are invisible. We are intangible, we are virtual reality. We live in the hearts of men. We live in their faith, we are deathless. There are umpteen instances where Dr. Anand blames how slyly neoliberalism has cast its spell on us, leaving us devoid of empathy and love. Lustus personifies modern evil, works insidiously presenting itself to us as our friend. Lustus personifies modern evil, works insidiously presenting himself to us as our friend, as champion of freedom from all taboos. The modern theodicy that Dr. Anand takes recourse to is problematic for some important reasons. Dr. Anand says at many places that darkness and light are inseparable. I accept it. It is like that. However, his universe is still Manichaean, divided strictly into good and evil, light and darkness, white and black. I find that this text is marked by this tension between his acceptance of the world with warts and all, and a simultaneous binarist view. Now, Dr. BASUDEB in the beginning suggested that each reading is a new creation of the book. My reading of the book can be a misreading also, as Harold Bloom used to say. Please bear with me. Another problematic area to me is laying the blame for the current situation on Enlightenment values and rationality. I think Dr. Anand weighs heavily in favor of the idea of ignorance being bliss and the fall of man resulting from knowledge. When Lustus says it, there is no proper counter argument to it. Without creating any hierarchies here, I would simply like to quote from Upanishad Brihadra Nayaka. In dense darkness they move, who bow the knee to ignorance, yet denser they who are satisfied with knowledge. Advait, the Indian philosophy of non-dualism, equates ignorance with pap, which is not translatable into English word sin. But yes, here I fully agree with Dr. Anand's contention. The kind of knowledge we are imparting and receiving today is largely responsible for converting us into hyper-competitive rodents. In the present rat race for acquisition of material goods, we tend to conflate with happiness. But then, the solution Dr. Anand recommends is itself problematic. These solutions are problematic because the idea of talking about the idea of evil itself involves many problems. Hats off to him that he makes us think of all these things. Towards the end, Dr. Anand writes, epilogue itself, lords of creation and well-being, Lustus and his monsters have disturbed the balance of humanity. Men have gone crazy. Rethink how to bring them back from this land of sensations to the world of reality, the world of sanity. To me, this is falling back on what Elvin and Heidi Toffler call Messiah complex, blaming Satan or Lustus for evil and wanting gods to rescue us. In both the cases, we surrender human agency to external forces, agreed that in some grand divine scheme, we may just be the gods that flies are to wanton boys. But still, authentic solutions have to come from within. I'm happy that Dr. Anand's text, which is a disquisition on the problem of evil, made me think deeply about our uniquely human predicament. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. SWARAJ, for sharing your view, critical evaluation, psychoanalysis, and understanding of justice. Thank you so much. Your understanding is really intellectually sound. You really incorporated some of the best social scientific gaze to understand literature or particularly text. So thank you so much. So it's time to invite Dr. LAKSMISREE. Is she there? So may I invite our co-nurturer of today's session, Saranya Francis,
Yes.
to continue the session. Saranya, are you there?
Yeah, she was
Very
there.
good evening.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Good evening, Janil Saab. Good evening to all of you present here. It's a very pleasant evening indeed. And it fills me with great joy to be playing a small role in introducing Lustus further to the world. It has been an amazing experience to be a part of this team and to be able to talk about Lustus to all of you. Good evening, Tariq Saab, for that special, thank you for that special welcome. So this evening we have amidst us a lot of literary luminaries, literary legends, as has been announced by the team. Up next in our discussion, we will have Dr. Kulbhushan RAZDAN. Dr. Kulbhushan, are you able to hear us, sir?
Hello, this is Dr. Kulbhushan.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, very good evening.
Welcome, sir. We invite you to share your thoughts with us this evening.
Pardon?
We invite you to share your thoughts with us on Lustus this evening, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah. Hello.
Yes, you are audible, sir. Please carry on.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We can all hear you. Please go ahead.
I can hear everything. Was it Professor Molly Joseph?
Sorry, sir.
Was just speaking. Kali.
No.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Kulbhushan. Hello.
Yes.
We were listening.
Hello, Dr. Anand.
Yeah. Now this is your slot to talk. Please talk for 5-6 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
See, I must say one thing. When I read this work, Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, first of all, I must say that I compliment you, Dr. Anand, for writing such a colossal work, which epitomizes the entire global situation right now. And in context of Lustus and why he's given the charge by Satan, because Lustus is young, is energetic, and Satan has grown old. He can't, you see, preside over the cosmos of evil so efficiently as he did in the Genesis, when he entered the Garden of Eden as a serpent, made Eve commit the sin of disobedience by eating the forbidden fruit and giving it to Adam, and that was lost of the original state, and the state of innocence, purity, heroism. And it was replaced by alienation, contradiction, disorder. I must say these 6 words straight away give us the crux of Lustus, this modern epic, which I must call as greater kind of an epic work, is a poetic epic magnified to global proportions to reflect the anarchic state of evil which envelops the entire world. And the latest, as I said earlier, is the instance of the Ukrainian devastation caused by Russia. Apparently, it seems without any rhyme or reason. Why this kind of destruction? Okay, the military can do, but the military can't attack civilians, can't kill innocent men, women, and children. Just 2 days back, look at what Lustus is doing. I'm just relating the entire epic, its magnificent proportions are written by Dr. Anand, to the contemporaneity. What's happening in the world right now? As I was saying earlier, look how Imran Khan was disposed of this night, 2 in the night, and look what Russia is doing in Ukraine, and look what China is doing in other places. And above all, the kind of mayhem, destruction, and whenever I read the paper these days, or I pick up the Times of India, I pick up the Navbharat Times, what I read is mostly rapes, loots, killings, snatchings. What is happening? Are we living in a human world, or are we living in a world of apes? Well, Darwin's origin of species can apply to Lustus, the prince of darkness. Darwin said man originated from the apes, okay, over a period of millions of years, which he called as the origin of species. And then the organic evolution came the Neanderthal man, came the, you see what we call ape man, and finally came Homo sapiens. Earlier came Homo erectus, Homo Neanderthal, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens. That's we, modern man. Okay. But then Darwinism has been delivered a slap in Lustus. I delivered it a slap when I wrote my doctoral thesis in BHU on apocalyptic imagination in contemporary fiction. Why the same thing is there. It took me 2 years to come to the same kind of conclusion what Dr. Anand has given in Lustus, that evil reigns supreme. Because as I said in the beginning, we have to understand these kind of situations or these kinds of works being written. We must go back to the Revelation, the last chapter of the Bible, where it is described how God should end this world. And let me just go 2 minutes, if not directly. It begins with that in the beginning there shall be signs of devastation, like earthquakes, floods, tornadoes, tsunamis, epidemics, pandemics, what we are having these days. These shall be inaugural signs of the apocalypse. And then shall come the reign of the Antichrist. The last and the worst apostasy. These are the words in Revelation. The last and the worst apostasy. Apostasy is reign of terrible evil, damnation, perdition, hell, suffering, pandemics, colossal deaths, loss of innocence, purity, heroism, coming of the ape inside man out, right? Rapes of innocent girls, killings of wives by drunken husbands, okay? Killings on the roadsides, snatchings from women, necklaces, gold ornaments. Who is doing this? This is the ape inside man. And as Huxley wrote a post-catastrophe of writing we call post-catastrophe writing, in which futuristic novels with futuristic scenarios are written depicting what will happen to the world 200 years hence. Now, Aldous Huxley, we know, is such a great British novelist. He wrote Ape and Essence soon out in the aftermath of the Second World War. The Second World War is over in 1945. Aldous Huxley wrote Ape and Essence in 1948. And what is the book? The book is having 22nd century scenario of California, USA. Third World War has taken place. Total devastation has been done. And due to genetic mutation because of atomic radiation, men and women are having 6 fingers, 6 toes. Women are on their breasts. And books, Harbor and books from libraries are used as pure by the survivors of 22nd century California, USA. It's horrible. It's horrible. And then Huxley quotes these lines midway. He says, why? What's happening after all? Why is this? He says, it goes like this. But man, proud man. But man, proud man, dressed in little brief authority. Look at Putin, or look at Xi Jinping, I repeat. But man, proud man, dressed in little brief authority, most ignorant of what is most assured. His glassy essence like an angry ape plays such fantastic tricks before high heaven as make the angels weep. Wow. The whole theme of Lustus is in these lines, exactly in these lines. Or at another place, Huxley says, I think he has Shakespeare in mind. He has how any man can be many monkeys. How any man can be many monkeys. I'm sorry, I can't relate it to Putin or relate to Volodymyr, Zelensky or anybody else. No, I can't. that would be scurrilous on my part. I have no authority to condemn world leaders, whatever be there. But look at the situation of analogous is what the Prince of Darkness is doing, as Dr. Anand has aptly put it. And another thing is that in the same post-catastrophe novel, in another situation, there are survivors of the Third World War who celebrate Belial night. Who is Belial? Belial is Lustus. Belial is Lustus, the assistant of Satan. And in the Belial night, they use half-burned books as fuel and they do dancing. They dance. They drink liquor. And they shout like wild animals and apes. That's the Belial night they celebrate. And who is making them do it? It's Lustus and none else. That's why Hasan, whom I personally call as the Aristotle of postmodern American literature, or postmodern apocalyptic scenarios, Hasan, his wife Sally Hassan, I was fortunate to meet him in a National Seminar University of Delhi in April 1985. He gave me a file. Hasan says that in one of his recent essays he wrote a few years back, which I read, which I made a kind of a paper in International Seminar in the Central University of Jammu 44 years back. And there Hasan says what we need now, we are beyond postmodernism where evil is dominant. So what we need now is an aesthetic of trust. If we have an aesthetic of trust, Lustus cannot do anything. From being a prince of darkness, we can make them relegate to the prince of hell. We'll throw him on the shores of the burning lake of hell. As Satan lies there with his Leviathan, as Milton depicts in the Paradise Lost. And how from being the archangel, how from being Lucifer he becomes Satan. Satan was not Satan. He was an archangel. Archangels attend God on his throne in heaven. They are closest to him. But Lucifer was struck by ambition. He wanted to dethrone God and take God's place in heaven. When God came to know this, he threw Lucifer along with his followers right from heaven into hell. And since then he became devil or Satan. Now Satan is old. As Dr. Anand gives it very good kind of an epic dimension. He's old, but he assigns the role to Lustus, dominant, young, energetic, full of ideas, and on and on and on goes Dr. Anand's epic with magnificent relevance to the more contemporary world, what's happening. We see evil all around enveloping us, rather encapsulating us into a kind of an evil syndrome. But the question is, as Dr. Anand says at the end of the book, there's a cosmic kind of warfare. And God summons Brahma, and Brahma summons Vishnu to do something, what's happening. And the kind of this dimension given, it makes Lustus into kind of an, I must say, modern Bhagavat, the Bhagavat of the postmodern age. Why we call it, we need an aesthetic of trust. We should trust ourselves for evil, unleashed by Lustus mercilessly on the whole race of man. Two, what we are doing today with rapes all around, with snatchings, with these merciless killings of innocent children, men, women, children. Look at Ukraine or whatever is happening, and look at other places. Look at the tremors, earthquakes, and all that apocalyptic kind of demonic happenings, all being done well. So the question is, cosmic war takes place. As the Revelation says, there shall be an Armageddon. And Armageddon is a cosmic war between evil and good, Satan and God. But here the Armageddon is not led by Satan, it's led by Lustus. God is helpless. He becomes so helpless at the end of Lustus, he summons, he tells Lustus, go ahead, I can't fight. And God is very disturbed. Even Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh can't give him satisfactory answers. So there's a cosmic warfare between Lustus and God at the end of this book, which results in no result. Why? It comes back to the revelation. I must say everybody must read Revelation, the last chapter of the Bible, if you have to understand the word he's living in. Whereas, I would just make a digression. When I was doing my doctorate at BHU, peace be to my guide, who was a colossus, he was an international figure, and he gave me a tough time. He made me do the work of 5 years in 2 years. Anyway, whatever I am today is because of him. I bow my head to him in silence. May he rest in eternal peace wherever he is. What I say, he told me to find out the difference that applies to Lustus. What is the difference between biblical apocalypse and secular apocalypse? Well, the Revelation says that God shall destroy this world. Which means nuclear war. And then here is the difference. God shall create a new heaven and a new earth like a bride adorned for her husband. This is the end of Revelation. No. I proved in my thesis there should be no renewal. The end shall be final and total. So this is the difference between biblical apocalypse and secular apocalypse on which I worked. And analyzing the novels of 8 novelists. 8 novelists. 3 British, 5 British, 3 of 8, 6 novelists were 6 novels were quite recent. Nothing was written on them. I had to write whatever I had to write. But the question is, biblical apocalypse is not relevant now. It is secular apocalypse, demonic apocalypse, apocalypse of despair. That's what is here also. The cosmic war between Lustus and God ends in no result, right? So the cosmic war is on. It is on. You can't defeat evil. No. Why go to Putin or anybody? Why go to Adolf Hitler? Why go to Mussolini? Why go to Napoleon? Okay. Why go to anything else? The question is, yes. If anybody asks me why Lustus is so supreme, it's because of narcissistic absorption. Putin is the modern narcissist. He is on the edge of the pool. He falls in love with his own reflection. He attacks Ukraine. I think what I have said is very clear, can be understood by everybody who is right now in this book release function. I am narcissist by the edge of the pool. I am. I've written another poem for my second anthology, which will be complete in another month or so. I'm writing, where I wrote a poem, Narcissus by the edge of the pool. Why Narcissus is not the Narcissus of Ovid in Metamorphosis. No. Narcissus is, I am Narcissus. Every writer is Narcissus. Everybody loves his own self. But then Narcissus can't get up. He falls in love with his own reflection in the pool of water, tries to embrace it. Oh, he tries to embrace it, scatters. You fall with your love, you fall in love with your reflection in the mirror. Can you survive? No, you can't. The basic cause of Lustus being victorious, the basic fundamental virus of Lustus dominating is the narcissistic impulse in present day man and present day rulers. Everybody's in love with his own image. Everybody's being like a credulous fool. As Ovid says, oh, young credulous fool, knowest thou dawn, knowest thou not? What love, oh fool, is thy own reflection. It's a mirage. Putin is seeing the same mirage. He says, I will destroy Ukraine. He cannot. Did he capture Kyiv? He couldn't capture Kyiv. Now, yesterday, Boris Johnson went to Kyiv. Was accompanied by Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. What is this? Men, women, children are waiting of Ukraine just 3 days back at a railway station, board a train and flee their country, which is being devastated. Here came a Russian missile and destroyed the railway station, and no less than 52 to 55 people, men, women, mostly women and children, were killed. What is this? This is how any man can be many monkeys. This is the leech's kiss, the spirit's embrace. The prurient apes defiling touch. And do you like mankind? No, not much.
Respected sir, please wind it in 2 minutes. Sir.
It's all lustus. I congratulate Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand for writing a work of magnificent dimensions. Narcissistic pool to the current world situation. I have said enough in this one sentence. And I again congratulate Dr. Anand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. RAZDAN. I'm sure that all of us love to hear our speakers speak at length about various issues, but we have a paucity of time. So I make a humble request and appeal to all our speakers to kindly speak under 5 minutes, if it's possible. Thank you so much, because we want to hear everyone's views. Preferably, 3 minutes, we will be extremely delighted. 5 minutes is still fine, but if we can keep it under that, we'd really, really appreciate it. Dr. RAZDAN's views clearly point out the elements that are way beyond simple kowtowing, simple sycophantic expressions. He has been able to point out the serious aspects of the second coming of sorts, the revelations of sorts. Thank you, sir, for those views. We will now hear from somebody extremely erudite, somebody who has done exemplary work in American literature and American poetry, to be specific. We have amidst us Dr. Molly Joseph, who will be sharing her views this evening. Dr. Molly Joseph, over to you.
Thank you, Sharon. With your warning, I am in tenterhooks, time constraints. Okay, now I thought of confining my deliberation to just 3 strands. Meantime, Dr. RAZDAN, I am Molly Joseph, the one who wrote forward to your wonderful book, Halcyonic Bubbles. And of course, the greetings to you, Dr. JAFRI, for involving me with spirituality on a new dimension. That is it. So it's great, this brainstorming session. So these 3 strands on which I'm just, because my review of the book is there in the back. One is the relevance of Faustus in contemporary times. Of course, previous speakers have spoken so much about it. But what we notice is these days, lured by enticing terms like progress, development, man with the help of technology is like a child in boots, making leapfrogs as if he could grab everything, filled up with that lustus greed to grab. That's what we find all around in the form of domination, war, appropriation of into another space. Yes. And this lustus, this masterpiece of a book by the mastermind, I would always refer to Dr. Jarnail as the mastermind behind, with kind of sagacity. It questions the basic narratives of the world. It dares to question, I would say, and connects the past development with the present concerns, the angst that is looming over us about the future, what is about to turn up. That's the first one. Next one is, since my doctoral work was on the cusp period between the modernist trends and the postmodern trends, I'm going to deal with the structural, the semantic universe of Dr. Jarnail as Anand, where he's weaving these things together and how the straddling happens, oscillation happens, sometimes on one side, sometimes to the other side. And last but not the least, I have to compliment him for making wonderful kind of contribution to vocabulary like lustus for justice, lustification. You know, the verbal jugglery with which he's ensconcing the whole thing into the matrix of this mega epic. Yes, yes. When, Sharon, I'm just into it. See, this masterpiece of Lustus is an effort to control the unwieldy dancing disarray of decadence and depravity. Actually, that's what postmodernism is doing. There's a dancing disarray. They're celebrating it. But as it was with Eliot when he did, T.S. Eliot did Wasteland, I heap these fragments against the shores. Or with Eliot's or Pound's cantos. Or what to say about Vikram Seth, the suitable boy. Leave out all those people, early people, the mega big stars of the Alexander Pope, all those. Long poem always was a kind of a tense area for any writer. How to encompass the flux of modernity? How can I be a mirror to this modernity? How cleverly the mastercraft follows the kind of, I would see the text as a charming straddle between both the modernist trends as well as the postmodernist trends. Not alone that it is open-ended, it is a postmodernist text. No, not alone that. It is a dexterous mix of yesterday's memories, today's apprehensions, tomorrow's dreams, percolating to strike a balanced stance in the present. That is it. In the sense, see, we find so many characters, the kind of the author, the omniscient author is resonantly the cosmic voice. The sensible, the knowledge part of it of the controller resonates in the cosmic voice in every canto. But despite all that, the war goes on and ultimately Lustus fails as we read it. I was reading intensely each and every canto. And then God, with the help of Durga, somehow establishes a kind of dominance. But see what happens. There is a struggle. The last part is significant. The poet says, but man, easy, corrigible, incorrigible he is. Mankind, typical of all things, goes on with the mundane, as if nothing has happened. Unconcerned, callous, indifferent to their own fates. Isn't it the fate that the great writer Noah Harari is speaking about in Sapiens? In the coming millennia, what is going to happen? Here, it will be a millennium of cyborgs and people with their robotic brains and lacking what JAFRI sir would call humanism, dehumanized beings. Is there any clear-cut solution? That is the problematic of the text. The loose thread I would like to pick up for deconstruction. Maybe the Lustus dialectics will go on and on. It's not an end. I think the fertile brain of Dr. Jonas Anand will be brewing out more and more dimensions to this, the open-endedness. It doesn't close with an authorial, dictatorial controlling of the modernist kind. The straddle goes on. Yes. And one quote, I would just say, the satire, humor, everything that resonates within the text. See how Lustus, as a king, orders his followers to pollute education, focus education on legs and arms, disable it in head and soul. Imagine the kind of cutting satire, the social correction needed. Mankind has to learn. That is the last part. He ends here with the conscientization for man. You have to learn from your follies. And it seems this Lustus, this mega piece, masterpiece would catapult time. By defining time, it is, it defies time. It would resonate through future. And may I wind up with the last part. This masterpiece of a book, Lustus, is sure to stand the test of time, sweeping over human consciousness, which necessarily has to undergo self-scrutiny, self-interrogation, and remolding. Best wishes to the mastermind of our times, Dr. Jarnail S. Anand. Let the book get a wide readership. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak on the book. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Molly Joseph. I think it was so succinct, the way that you pointed out the postmodernist features and the modernist angst that has been brought out by Lustus. I think as a poet yourself who excels at expressing things in both modernist and postmodernist forms, I think it resonates when you speak about Dr. Anand's work. Thank you once again for your wonderful thoughts and words. We will now move on to our next speaker. We have amidst us Dr. Basudev Paul. Dr. Basudev Paul, we invite you to share your thoughts with us for about 2 to 3 minutes, sir.
Is he around? Dr. Basudev Paul?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
Please.
I have been here. Actually, after receiving your book, I could not go through it properly because of my academic interaction very much. But it's my interest that has prompted me to stand over here before the system. And I am hearing a lot of talks. I am very much delighted, but I must give you feedback. After going through it, I could not make it. Dr. Jarnal Singh Anand, I'm very happy. It's a, the exordium reverberates the sentiments of the Miltonic grandeur. It's a stupendous job carried out by none other than a man of such a caliber. I thank you from the core of my heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, for those candid thoughts. I think it takes a lot of maturity to accept that you haven't been able to finish the reading, and it's extremely nice of you to say that you would give a valid feedback after you have done justice to the reading of the work. We're very appreciative of your time, sir. Thank you so much for your presence and your thoughts.
Definitely.
May I now invite Dr. LAKSMISREE Banerjee to share her thoughts for about 2 to 3 minutes. Dr. LAKSMISREE Banerjee. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself, please. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself. You're on mute. Please click on the mic button on the left bottom corner of your screen. Thank you so much. Dr. Banerjee, you're still on mute. Can you try speaking now, ma'am, into the mic? Not really, ma'am. May I suggest that you you disconnect your headset from the laptop and speak directly into the laptop system? That might work.
You invite other speaker. I'm going to follow.
All right. Ma'am, we still can't hear you. We'll invite the next speaker on. Maybe you could try to resolve this issue by changing your headset, ma'am. We'll call you in just after this.
Please call the next one then.
Yes, sir. Ambassador BHAGIRATH Choudhary, sir, are you?
I think he is not there.
Dr. Dalvinder.
Dr. Dalvinder Singh.
Dr. Dalvinder Singh?
He is there.
Dr. Dalvinder Singh, may we invite you to share your thoughts for about 2 to 3 minutes, sir?
Unmute, please, unmute. Unmute.
Yes, sir.
Hello, respected Dr. J.S. Anand and the legendary literary luminaries present. I must first congratulate Dr. J.S. Anand for release of his epic Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, which actually is the reason of darkness expanding all over the world. I had the privilege of writing a review on Lustus, published in Sikh Philosophy, Sikh Net, and Sikh Review. Gentlemen, evil anarchist forces are surely playing their games through the agents of evil kind, courtesy Lustus. Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand's modern epic Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, presents a vivid depiction of the global situation at present as opposed to the good old world of the God-fearing and moral law-abiding. Dr. Anand is moving very close to the realities of the global world at present. We watch the war which is going on between Russia and Ukraine and the proxy war between US and Russia and the media war of the West. Use of missiles, chemical weapons, all causing destruction of human beings and nature. Environmental degradation is beyond redemption. Threats of atomic blasts are in the air. It will be a total annihilation if an all-out atomic war starts. Lustus laughs heartily. Behind these are not the wise but satanic minds. When no plausible reason brought the world in Lustus' lap, Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand finds that from the world of Saturn of World War I and II, it is now Saturn's powerful cousin, Lustus, who has prepared regimes for the Third World War and is steadily pushing them into this. Lustus is an epic, intelligently built around Lustus, who gets the charge from Saturn, becoming old and incapable of developing his mission of demonizing the entire universe. After taking over, Lustus plans to expand his sphere of influence, not only the men, but also the birds, trees, and other elements of nature. Thus, the operational area of the epic is global, as the poet has successfully tried to marry the West with the East. Milton's Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, with Guru Gobind Singh's Chandi Diwar and Hindu epic Mahabharata. The epic is also a strange amalgamation of Eastern and Western settings, cultural settings, which in fact involve different philosophies. However, by bringing both these philosophies on common platform, by reducing the cultural and linguistic differences, Dr. Anand has made a successful attempt to bring both the theologies on a single global platform relating to the situation. The situation of the world war is well described by Vishnu and Indra. I'll not go more into that. Now, as we see, through the artificial knowledge taught in schools, colleges, and universities, the individuals have become highly educated, gaining high degrees, but in turn, they have lost all moral values and their attachment to God. Their behavior too has become abnormal. Indra informed that the desires for the body have taken over mind. Lust for sex has overtaken their consciousness, and they are now after players of life, forgetting the name of God altogether. They have lost all moral values and sense of humility. They have become sex maniacs, psychopaths, sociopaths, and rapists. Justice has prepared a strong team of officials, industrialists, black marketeers, court workers, businessmen, shopkeepers, soothsayers, Zido gurus, saints, and Mohans who have diverted God's system to build their own small empires under the shadow of Lustus. They are attracting the innocent public and slogans of freedom, love, and pleasure through sex, liquor, and drugs. Now all the beings are asking for freedom from God and the gods, and
want to remain to the bidding of Lustus. Now, Jarnail Singh Anand, Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand has brought Lustus to depict this dark age very, very suitable. The moving of an entire compendium on present situation through Lustus, the inheritor of Satan, who has lived his life. He has rightly described that the true intelligence has been kept under lock and key and artificial intelligence has taken over. It appears clear when we see father glued to Facebook, mother attached to YouTube, and the children attached to comics, all on their own mobiles and TVs. The sources of the artificial intelligence, which is now ruining the world intellectually. The true intelligence about our scriptures imparted by grandparents is no more available to the new generation, as the old are left in old age homes, since the sons and daughters are unable to spare time for them and take care of them. Companions of Lustus, Dr. Vainal, Dr. Fairal, Bleasburg, Faital, Fastus, etc., are created to compare the anger, greed, attachment, pride, ego, that we say, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar, and Home of the Eastern world, and are fitted here into the Western culture to bring both ideology closer. Now, also, Guru Nanak has said, the dark age of Kali Yuga is the knife, and the kings are butchers. Righteousness has sprouted wings and flown away in this dark night of falsehood. The moon of truth is not visible anywhere. I have searched in vain, and I am so confused in this darkness. I cannot find the truth. In egotism, they cry out in pain, saying, Nanak, how will they be saved? And this is the major worry, how the humanity has to be saved. And for this, Dr. Anand brought Lustus to find out the solution. Now, the problems created by Lustus had to be controlled, and God, of course, was worried. Durga came, they destroyed most of the creation of Lustus, but they couldn't kill all. So hence they had to get into some agreement. One is reminded of Chandidi War, written by Guru Gobind Singh, where Durga eliminates the devil MAQSOOD. The author relates this battle to Kurukshetra, where the evil Duryodhana and his army defeated by Pandavas who have stood on the path of truth. However, in the present case, after a lot of bloodshed from both sides, both agree to stop war, and Lustus is asked to stay within his limits. Unlike Chandidi War and Lustus, the war does not end by killing of demon by Durga, thereby eliminating the evil, hence virtue winning over evil, but it ends by accepting the balance of virtue and evil, and Lustus is forced to function within laid down limits. This is a unique outcome where the poet accepts the advancement of the world like undulation of the sea waves caused by ups and downs through virtue and evil. The poet also stresses on changing the education system, which is persistently based on mathematical and scientific approach, where the heads and computers do all, whereas ideals, ideas, and soul is left apart. This way, Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand, who is a global reckoning author, has authored more than 140 books so far, has a great flavor in writing philosophical literature in English, and he has created this Lustus. He has been organizing international seminars and conferences regularly of literature and helped numerous new writers to stand up. He has been globally acknowledged and honored with many international awards. In this Lustus, we see new feathers in his wings, which have already been well received globally due to its mesmerizing impact on mind and heart, and for providing a new direction to the new world. Where do we find such a serious depiction of evil for humanity to counter? He is expected to add more to the literature to improve human value system and removing all the evil which is now spreading all over the world, needing a strong check. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Dalvinder Singh Riwal, for having exhaustively spoken about the book as well as the author. We appreciate your time and efforts. May I now check with Professor LAKSMISREE if she's able to unmute herself and speak? We still can't hear you, ma'am. No, ma'am, we cannot hear you. In the meantime, can I invite Shri Vinod Khanna ji? Vinod Khanna ji, we would like to hear your thoughts, sir.
Saranya, Dr. Vinod Khanna ji, he is a joint vice president of Readers and Writers Society of Chandigarh.
Yes, sir.
And he has written a very beautiful ode to Lustus.
Yes, sir.
I really enjoyed it. You are most welcome, sir. Please come. Mute.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are, sir. Please carry on.
So, firstly, let me congratulate Dr. Anand for this poetical work. And thanks for inviting me to this August gathering. I'd not go into long-winding criticism of the book, or I would just say the ode which I have written. Firstly, the society's condition reminds me of a famous Bollywood song of yesteryears. देखते इंसान की हालत क्या हो गई भगवान, कितना बदल गया इंसान. So that changes in values and morals in the last 50 or 60 years are so great that they have overturned the accepted norms and norms of behavior which have been in vogue for centuries. It seems God has already abdicated. In such times, Dr. Singh's creation Lustus is highly believable. It is a highly believable entity. After reading the epical poem, I thought it needs a poetical tribute. So I wrote this ode. Kindly listen. An ode to Lustus. I wonder how in the world of today, not God, but Lustus holds its sway. Shrines exist, embellished with gold. Where is the flock that used to pray? They reach temples, but to make a wish. They reach temples, but to make a wish. Hope he may grant with a magical swish. They cheat God as they daily cheat men. They cheat God as they daily cheat men in troubled waters, angling for the fish. It is AACA. As leaders, pleaders, and doctors loot. As leaders, pleaders, and doctors loot, crafty bureaucrats from the hip shoot. Crafty bureaucrats from the hip shoot. Self before service is the newer norm. Self before service is the newer norm. Corruption's termite eating up the root. Murders do happen in broad daylight. Murders do happen in broad daylight. White becomes black, black is white. Crumbs of power get shared by a few. Crumbs of power get shared by a few who loot banks before boarding flight. Truth is murdered daily in the courts. Truth is murdered daily in the courts. Witnesses tutored by consuls cohorts. Witnesses tutored by consuls cohorts. Innocents hanged. Gundas roam free. Innocents hanged. Gundas roam free. Hail the judiciary. Hail black courts. Morals, values lie crushed and ground. Morals, values lie crushed and ground. Truth is chased by devil's own hound. Truth is chased by devil's own hound. Sorry for you, O wretched of the earth. Sorry for you, O wretched of the earth, you must bear sans uttering any sound. Kingdom of heaven is in deep slumber. Kingdom of heaven is in deep slumber. God has dwelt pain in his lumber. God has dwelt pain in his lumber. Looks he blissfully sleeps on the throne. Looks he blissfully sleeps on the throne after taking painkillers in large number. The last stanza. No wonder morals in men don't ring. No wonder morals in men don't ring. No wonder people like snakes sting. No wonder people like snakes sting. World order changeth, listen, O men. World order changeth, listen, O men. Now Lustus, not God, is the new king. Thank you. That was my role.
Thank you so much, Khanna Saab. It was wonderful to listen to you so beautifully bring such words that that sort of overflow with the old world charm.
Ramya, God taking painkillers is a wonderful image.
Excellent. Yes, right. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
And the way he juxtaposed the word lumber where he did was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and for your effort and that beautiful thought that you brought in to speak about Lustus through verse itself in your own inimitable fashion. We really appreciate your time, sir. Thank you so much. Professor Banerjee, any luck with your ma'am?
Lakshmiji. Madam Lakshmisree?
I don't think she's able to connect, sir. Shall we move ahead with your permission? Yeah. Professor Mandakini Bhattacharya. Professor Mandakini Bhattacharya, may we invite you to speak your thoughts to us, ma'am?
Sure. Thank you so much, Saranya ji, for inviting me. Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand, it's so good to see you hale and hearty. We were a little worried about you in the past few days, and it's so good to see you blooming, inviting all of us to this wonderful session. Good evening, everyone. Very quickly, 5 minutes, less than that maybe. So Lustus, yes, the epic takes us on this extremely surreal journey. I would say a journey into mythology, which treats of magic realism as well, because there is this constant postmodern hammering at the mythological constructs we have so grown used to. The beginning with the invocation to the muse is an epical convention that we all know of, and it goes more or less as we expect, though the identity of the muse is not clear. The kidnapping of Sita is what we next get onto, and here the magic realism starts. The jumping into time zones, into cultures, across different cultures, it's mind-blowing, and the reader is unsettled as well as piqued by the narrative. So the kidnapping of Sita, though I would have liked him to deconstruct the myth of Ravan instead of painting him totally black. So it suddenly metamorphoses again into Adam, and then there's Santes, Denzi, Amazinia, Lustus, Faustus, Karl, Narad, Kuru, the witches of Shakespeare, Macbeth, ooh la la. It's a veritable feast across cultures, across mythologies, and the whole deconstruction act is very much going on. It is as if I am in a dream inside a kaleidoscope. And whichever wall I touch, the colors and patterns shift to become something else. Lustus indeed attacks Milton himself, the iconoclast that he is, probably because he does not still dare to attack Satan directly. So he attacks Milton, the creator of this formidable figure of Satan in Paradise Lost. Greda, Chanchalma, with 7 faces, is a very interesting creation I found. I see here power to an extent passing from Satan to Lustus through her. Though the creator stipulates that women are still not wise enough to exercise power. There is reference to Heer Ranjha, which talks of the limited choice of women, about killings, about torture, about how women's choices are limited. And Durga, of course, plays this epical primordial role in leading to the final ceasefire. But like Marlo, I would appeal to Dr. Anand to create a very credible, and whom Marlo created this in his masterpiece, in his last play and masterpiece. He died very young at 29. So it was his masterpiece, Edward II. And there we have this very credible, diplomatic, very manipulating, strong female character, Queen Isabel. And we would wait for Dr. Anand to write another epic in which women hold their own, not just as satellites of men. I loved the gentle satires on online conferences, mobiles, Apple versus the mythological Apple. And the diseases of animals take on human dimensions, and they remind me of Animal Farm. So it's a veritable literary feast that we indulge in as we go through Lustus. And it's always, the mind is ticking, the mind is trying to figure out what is going to be the next piece in the puzzle that Dr. Anand is going to confront us with. And I love this this unpredictable element in Lustus so much. It was a treat to read it, Dr. Anand, and congratulations. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandakini ji, for being being someone who kept up her word of keeping it short, at the same time being so comprehensive in drawing parallels, bringing to mind Faustus and Marlowe and all the other epics that we have gone through in our engagement with literature as such. Thank you so much, Mandakini Bhattacharya ji. We have with us next Hela Tekali, a Sufi poet. We invite you, Hela ma'am, to share your thoughts on Lustus. Are you able to connect to the audio, ma'am? She's on the meeting.
شو نعمل يا يسرا، يجي دخل قد لي لوحدها.
Amita. Okay. Hela has joined, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he's there. Yes, Hela, kindly.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. You know that we are celebrating the holy month of Ramadan. That's why we don't have the same time zone like you in India. Are you listening?
Yes, we are. Please proceed.
Hi, so everybody. And I would like just to read, that is a part that I already has written for Dr. Anand for his masterpiece, which is Lustus, and it is the mock heroic epic of the postmodern era. And I have written, honestly, two parts, just a poem about vice and virtues, and also I have written this relationship between grace and the devil, because I saw that it is the most intrinsic and the most intricate relationship is mostly about grace and the devil. Can I read, please? Huh?
Yes.
So I have to read this. Lustus, grace versus the devil. The binary opposition between grace and the devil has always been the indelible mark of the mystery that has puzzled the universe since the inception of humanity. Do we choose to follow evil and become Lustus, or do we go for good and be heightened to the level of angel? To quote Flannery O'Connor's words, all human nature vigorously resists grace because grace changes us and the change is painful. She also claims that faith comes and goes, it rises and falls like the tides of an infinite ocean, it is presumptuous to think that faith will stay with you forever. It is just as presumptuous to think that unbelief is. Lustus, this protagonist in Journal Anand mock epic, has chosen to stride on the sidewalks of unbelief and thereby to show these camouflaged ways of good to men, like Milton's eloquent speaker in Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. Here also Lustus emerges as a versatile scholar, challenging Adam and Eve and the forbidden fruits. Like Dr. Faustus, he stands for this disguised tree of knowledge, usurping faith, signing his alliance with sublimity of lust and eternal damnation, to stalk on the side of unbelief, turning Greece upside down and Hello into usurping horn, giving vent to an exorbitant mock epic, leading the postmodern era, putting vigorous and stern fingers on the camouflage of bigotry, contempt, hatred, enmity, rivalry, exemplifying all forms of vices dressed up in a masked, chivalric, armored knighthood of dignity and honor. Lustus, the mock heroic epic form of satire, adapts the elevated heroic style of the classical epic poem to a travesty subject where the unheroic character of the postmodern era wears the stalwart qualities of the true classical and tragic hero like Macbeth or King Lear, usurping grace and playing with its virtues, where all the human nature, in Ochner's words, not only resists grace, but challenges it to turn morbid vices into those sublime virtues, falsehood into truth, unbelief into faith, grace into sublime regained paradise, a vulgarized version of truth, a masked dress ball, a fancy masquerade. When the curtain is once unveiled, you fell upon the apocalyptic Babylon, an enchanting hell chanted by the chorus of an incomparable bastard and vulgar magician, a smirking master of all demons who is Lustus. Thus, Lustus embodies the malignity ranged against the sublimity of mankind, and as the most dreaded apocalyptic fictional figure ranks among immortal creation like Satan, Dr. Faustus, and Macbeth. This is for the introduction to Dr. Anand, that is the devil, the relationship, the coalition between the devil and grace. I would like to read this last poem, please. I wrote it as inspired by Dr. Anand mock epic, which is called Virtue and Vices. Virtues and vices, Dr. Faustus or Lustus, every man has his own share of allegorical slices, leading to their imminent devices. Vice laughs at virtue and tilts up its head, says its time is overdue and that it is existentially dead. Vice boasts of its knowledge and its ceaseless thirst for power. Compassion it cannot acknowledge, neither its blessing nor its divine shower. The story of every man is like Faustus, a thirst for vanity, greed, and endless lust, an inspiring mega-epic, a new Lustus. Can't every man see he is a mere quintessence of dust? Vice has blinded our eyes, nonchalant to see that virtue is the real wise. Cain cannot ultimately win. He has chosen to willingly sink in falsehood and sin, leading the whole world to a real demise. Virtue has to open its eyes to see that the 21st century, we need to be wise. Neither money nor power bring back the sunrise. Virtues and vices, every man has his own share of allegorical slices. Dr. Faustus, Prince Lustus, doomsday earth is the battleground of new demises. Good and evil ultimately meet. Vice and virtue each other greet. When the curtain is lifted, good realizes it is gifted, for vice unveiled has to tilt down its head, imploring for pardon, its conscience is dead. This is a poem which is inspired by Dr. Anand, the Prince of Darkness, Lustus. That's all. This is what I want to share with you. Thank you for your attention, and thank you so much. Hello. Hello.
Thank you, Hela, for sharing your thoughts with us, and for joining us despite your schedule and despite your commitments to your faith. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. May I now invite Sri Ashok Bhargava to share his thoughts with us? Sri Ashok Bhargava. Ashok ji.
He's not there, I think.
He's not here, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Finally, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, ma'am. Yes, we can. Please
Okay.
proceed.
Should I speak?
Yes, ma'am. Please proceed. About 2-3 minutes. Please share your thoughts.
Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this excellent discussion by so many erudite people. I had the privilege to write a review of the book, and of course I have read it from line to line, from canto to canto. Of course, not in the last few days, but I do remember. So I would like to throw light on a few things which have actually, which had and which continue to have caught my imagination. One is about the expansiveness of the poetic and philosophical thought process of Dr. J.S. Anand, because this one major point which I have also written in the review is the meeting of the thoughts, the ideals, the ethos of the Orient and the Occident. You know, I felt this was a very major point in this whole spanning across the whole history and trajectory of poetry and literature through the ages. Let us say from Dante, Milton, the biblical connotations, to the Mahabharata, to the Durga Purana. So the expansiveness of this whole thought process was really mind-boggling to me. In fact, it was also a kind of, I started racking my brains. And in the most positive manner, I would say that it also brought to mind the very important thing about this transition from what Dr. Molly Joseph said, from modernist to postmodernist to post-postmodernist thought in this mega epic. I will call it not just a mega epic, but an ultra epic, because it combines the heroic elements, it combines the classical elements, it combines the scriptural elements, it combines the philosophical elements, and of course, the poetic flow of this whole thing, which binds it together. So in this expanse of poetry and philosophy, I found this very important integration of the East and the West, you know, the ethos of the East and the ethos of the West. And after all, we are the human race. It is almost like the human civilizational process in progress. And whether it is in progress or whether it is in retrogress, whether it's between progression and retrogression, is of course this mind-blowing assimilation of both modernist as well as postmodernist as well as postmodernist thought, which is also ultra modern. And it also brings to my mind the second thing which strikes me is the wasteland of T.S. Eliot. Well, we know we are into the 100th year of The Wasteland when he wrote it in 1922. Well, I don't appropriate Dr. Anand's Lustus exactly within that mold, but to a large extent, yes, because when it was first written, people did talk about the basic, the quintessential fragmentation that was inbuilt into the poetry of T.S. Eliot, because he was so much influenced by the nihilistic and negative elements of modernism in 1922. Well, when we have come to 2022, I think that nihilism has multiplied manifold or multifold, that nihilism we cannot get out of. And of course, that is in every line, in every stanza, in every canto of Dr. Anand. So this is, I think, a huge, huge success in terms of this kind of amalgamation of nihilism, of modernism and post-modernism. Well, these are the two main points. And the third main point, which struck me very much and very deeply, was the quintessential dialectics in this whole thing. Because, the dichotomy, the duality that we see while reading this is something which is very, very contemporary. We call ourselves, we have reached the pinnacle of human civilization, or so we would like to think. Now, this is one part of it, the pinnacle of human civilization. But the next part is, of course, questioning that. Have we fallen into the abysmal pit, the abyss and the abysmal pit of human civilization? So in this duality, in this dichotomous existence, whether we have really achieved something very great in seeing that we have gone into artificial intelligence, into ultra technology, into robotics and whatnot. And we are also creating clones, which I feel is so dangerous for the future. I mean, we are, we have moved away, and this is something which bothers me a lot. Yes, we know that this technology has helped. At the moment, it has helped me to connect with you. I do agree. This was never there. But where has this technology gone? I mean, we are living in a utilitarian, a consumerist, a very devastating world. And in that devastation, we are looking for the flowers of existence. I would like to quote Baudelaire, his great masterpiece, Fleurs the Evil, the flowers of evil. That also comes to my mind. Heidegger comes to my mind. Even Aristotle and Plato comes to my mind with this kind of dichotomous, thinking, which is all the time, as Molly said just now, the kind of oscillation, this kind of, the pendulum moving from one side to another, and yet the enjoyment of that swiveling, that enjoyment when you read this mega epic, that swiveling enjoyment from one post to another, from one goal post to another, and then from the summit of our existence to the pit, and then we do end with this annihilation. And of course, with Dr. Anand's great thinking, and which also provokes our thinking, that where do we go? Are we really into the close of annihilation? And that is darkness, the prince of darkness. With this, I would like to really thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to speak through this virtuality, which actually does not attract me at all. And I always say, well, when is the time going to come? I just had it in Delhi, when we can hug each other, when we can touch each other, when we can be so natural, so blossoming in being physically present with each other. But nonetheless, this is an ultra modern epic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Banerjee, for your thoughts.
Thank you. Please carry on.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Dr. Anand wanted to. I couldn't hear you, Dr. Anand. Dr. Saab, kya bol rahe hain aap?
I simply said that you are marvelous And surely your feelings are marvelous that we should meet physically. We should be together face to face, and we will wait for that maybe in October, September, sometime. We will wait for that.
Yes, but I hope I presented the crux, what I felt was the crux of this whole mega epic. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, once more. Randir sir, are we okay to go ahead with our video presentations, considering the remaining speakers are not able to join us at the moment?
First, we invite the persons who are present here. We will play the video at the end of the session.
Fine, sir. So in that case, I hand the session over back to you, sir, to invite the rest of the speakers.
So, Rania, I must thank you. You have done a wonderful job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure.
Dr. Kiran Preet. She is our next co-nurturer of today's session.
Welcome.
Yes, yes. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. Namaskar. So nice to hear everybody. Am I audible, sir?
Dr. Kiran, you are. Thank you so much for your presence and for taking over the session. Thank you so much.
To you, ma'am. You've been doing a wonderful job. And it was really highly enlightening listening to all wonderful speakers. I was silently admiring everybody, but now I'm there in front of all of us. So let's continue our literary sojourn. So may I request Mukul Kumarji to please come over. Mukul Kumarji, sir, can you please unmute?
I think he has not come, so far as I think.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. So now I request Dr. Manju. Ma'am, are you there with us?
Yes, ma'am. I'm there.
Yes, yes.
I just didn't want to.
So Dr. Manju, she is a professor at Chandigarh University, Punjab. She's an established bilingual poet. She possesses a keen sensibility that is, of course, that is prevalent and it is showcased in her poems. Apart from it, she has published many research papers in various national and international journals, including Scopus and Web of Sciences. So, Dr. Manju, may I please request you to please take over?
Yeah, thank you so much, first of all, for this lovely introduction. And I really want to congratulate Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand on this release of this great book, Lustus, which is a modern epic. No doubt, there is no doubt that this is a modern epic because it not only instructs us, it entertains also. Or in other way, we can say that yes, it entertains and at the same time, it instructs. And the first thing that, whenever I went through the book, so the title, it was so like satirical, or we can say, yes, ironical. Lustus, the Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness who is carrying the torch of knowledge. So there I feel as if the poem is a very unique piece of literature because it is dealing with the idea of knowledge, which is deprived of wisdom. Like whenever through the first reading, I found as if, the book is rejecting the concept of knowledge, that this is something which is dangerous or something which is damaging. But whenever I went through it again, like I reread the poem, so then I found that, yes, it was not actually the rejection of knowledge, rather it was the rejection of that knowledge which is deprived of wisdom. And this is something that I find and I really appreciate there in the poem, because this poem is dealing not only with passion, because poems we know, okay, deal with emotions and passion. But here we find that this poem is not only dealing with passion, rather it is dealing with deep philosophy. It is dealing with the knowledge which is associated with wisdom. And this is something I found there even in the mechanization of this human mind, or you can say humankind. Like the computers, they have knowledge, but they do not have the wisdom. And this way, whenever the human being, they are being turned into computers. as they are not allowed to think, as they are not allowed to go to read books, as they are not allowed to believe in certain kind of ceremonies, as sir has discussed there, that yes, the people are there who do not believe, or like they have the free sexism or sex. So it means, it seems as if they do not believe in the tradition of marriage, or in being confined to one man or one woman, one person. So this is something that is leading them towards mechanization, or you can say that, which is transforming the people there into machines. So that wisdom I really appreciated, and I understood, yes, this was not just the rejection of knowledge, rather that was the rejection, which was rejection of that knowledge which was deprived of wisdom. And that's why whenever I read those lines, it stayed there in my mind. Whenever Lustus says, the more we know, the more miserable we grow. So this is actually, I feel that this is the reality of the modern life, modern time. Science, which is developing day by day, it doesn't know where it has to stop. Okay, like the trees, nature in everything has a kind of fixation. Everything has, like, it knows where it has to stop. Like the height of the trees or the height of the mountain, and everything is fixed there. It knows its limit. But it is science which is going beyond its limitation, and that's why we are sitting on the heap of the gunpowder. So I could relate those things there in the poem, Lustus. So I could feel here as if this is something which is, or I could call it a kind of book which is a dystopian visualization of modern civilization, which I could find even in Aldous Huxley, The Brave New World. So there also we find that the human beings are there. They are living in a perfect state where there is no illness, but they are deprived of humanity. They are not allowed to think. They are not allowed to sing any song. They are not allowed to read any book. So I suppose it seems as if that Brave New World is breathing in Lustus. So this was from my side. Again, I would like to congratulate sir. Thank you so much for writing such a nice book. And heartiest congratulations.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madhu. You are very lucid. Very lucid. You put it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manju, for your insightful comments and bringing back Aldous Huxley's Brave New World to us, and also drawing a parallel showing that knowledge should be coupled with wisdom. What actually you have brought forward, of course, it's from your angle. That's really important for all of us to know. Okay, now, thank you, ma'am, once again. May I request Mr. Tariq Muhammad, sir, are you there with us?
Yes, he is there.
Okay, good evening, sir. Maybe there's good morning in America.
Tariq Saab. No voice.
Mr. Tariq, sir, are you there?
Yeah, I think he's there.
He's there in the meeting.
Unmute yourself. Unmute. Yes.
Okay. Am I visible and audible now?
Yes, sir. You are welcome to the session.
Oh, wow. Yes, I've been waiting for this for a very long time. Dr. General Anand, thank you so much for the invitation. And Saranya and all people who know me. And I want to thank everyone. I want to send greetings from America. And since all people who are here, they're all scholars and educators and highly educated. I'm just an ordinary person compared to you all. So I will give my little version of Lustus in my poetic way, because people know me as a poet. Dr. General Anand, who's my guide, my philosopher, my teacher, my friend, Saranya, Ravi Ranganathanji, who's here, Raj Babu Gandham, and of course, Dr. Kiran Preet, she knows me very well, of course. So here is Lustus. Dr. Saab, can you hear me?
Yes.
So let's go back to, I'll take only 3 minutes. Let's go back to the recent past. Ignorance is Bliss, Doctor's book, Ignorance is Bliss, But reading Dr. Anand's bliss will make the reader knowledgeable. There is a connection from that bliss, in my opinion, to this lustus. Because lustus is an action which will have a reaction. In one of my comments, I had said that lustus is in every being, and I did not use the word human being, every being. Lustus is in every being, some malign, some benign. So there is a positivity I have gathered from lustus is L, learn to utilize subtleties that theorizes the unity in society. If we take the lust in the positive way, the lust can give us knowledge. The lust can give us freedom of speech. The lust can give us wealth. The lust can build a society which is amicable, friendly, with brotherhood and fellowship. That's what my poetic take is on this lustus. Though there is, if I dealt, Dr. Saab has put it into a lot of Ramayana and Mahabharata in it. But from the religious point of view, if I delve into, there will be a contradiction where knowledge is concerned, because there is a big difference where Mahabharata, Ramayana, and which is a part of one religion, and that includes the knowledge of the other religion, which contradicts some of the varieties presented in this book. So instead of delving into that, I would just say that this book is an epic, and it should be in the collection of all intellectuals who can avail of this. Since I am living so far, I haven't got the book yet, but I'm sure Dr. Saab has a copy for me. And that's all. Thank you so much. And you all have a very, very pleasant time. Thank you, everybody.
You are welcome, sir. We are glad you have come from America. That is really great for us.
Thank you so much, Tariq sir. We are
Thank you.
Waiting for you to come to India and meet us.
I am coming.
My daughters are waiting for the chocolates from America, sir.
Oh yeah, tons of chocolates for them. Not a problem. Tons of chocolates.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. But I will be till the end. I will be in the session till the end. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, sir. Now, next speaker I have Dr. Shobha Sharma. Dr. Shobha.
I think Shobha is not there.
Okay,
Wi-Fi issues.
Okay, Dr. Sarita Sharma.
She can be here. Sarita? She was there, I think. Sarita?
No, she's not there.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, Mr. Raj Babu Gandham. Raj Babu, sir, are you there with us?
He was very much with us. Raj Babu ji.
I'm here, sir. I'm here.
Very good.
Okay. Good evening, sir. And you're welcome.
Good evening, Kiran.
So we are very eager to hear from your take on Lustus.
Yeah, Lustus is everyday happening these days. This is Kali Yuga. I congratulate Dr. Janelle Anand, and I see happy seeing dear Randhir, Ravi Ranganathan, Mr. Tariq, and all others, Saranya also. So, it needless to say, Janelle Saab is a very intelligent person. He given all the gist in his front page itself. Satan is half the pest that Lustus is. And he says Satan grows old and anoints Lustus. As we are a coin. We have both flip side and otherwise also. So we are having our own devil within us. So what is how the societies function here? We all say that the evil is happening, raping. It is not that only one sect of people who are sitting somewhere aloof from us and doing all this. No, the evil is within us. The good cannot exist without the evil. The comparison comes within us. If you are sitting alone and in your meditative posture, you know what are the negative traits we are inculcating and we are growing it. Little things maybe. When you go to the shop and he has given you a 10 rupee note extra, what is your mental process? Or maybe 2000 rupee note. What is your mental process? He's not noticed, maybe the ice cream fellow, he's given instead of one note, he gives two, or 2000 or 100 or whatever it is. So, how is my mind reacting to switches? He has not seen, he was unaware, there's nobody has seen, whether I'm keeping it myself or immediately returning it, or there is a lot of conflict goes within us. So too, the lustus is the conflict in human being, how he has to conduct himself. So this is Kali Yuga. After this, the Satya Yuga. So of all the yugas, this is the time where we are in a very precarious situation. So to bring to the highlight my point of view, I will read out a few lines from Canto 6, Preparations for Monostro Politics. Politics is not away from myself, within my mind. It is the thought which has got politicizing, is in the sense how you are glorifying or de-glorifying your own thought. That is the total politics happening. The mob, the mass. So the two characters, the Lustus says, Amazonia, the nether world is proud of you. God's cry, Eve was tempted, but failed to God. Preparations. You have thrown away all inhibitions and now represent the new world which believes in beauty and lives by the wits rather than rations of honesty and chastity. So to that, Amazonia says, I am beholden that I represent the dark empire. We want more women to come forward. It to not old world where women were meant to manage the household. Now the women must leave villages and enter the cities, pursue their career and do their will. While for a few centuries now, huppies look after kids and in kitchen chill. It is a new world, no wisdom it buys. Accept your equality and claim your prize. What you expect me to do, Lustus? So this is the time, this is the pivotal period where it has to change. The change has to come from within the human being. It is not the society which changes and gives me a red carpet or a path to walk and everything is rosy. No, I have to change. I have to kill my devil in me. I have to kill my lustus. Killing is without understanding is a blasphemy. You have to reform yourself, each individual. It doesn't come every person is pointing out to the other 9 because of that society is like this. No, you turn yourself, you about turn. In NCC parades and military, you have about turn. So immediately you turn around and see with your mind what is there in you, what the lusts you are feeding all the time. So I conclude. I don't want to take much time. Because I can't. I write very short poems and I don't want to speak much. This is what Janel sir. Thank you for this wonderful book and congratulations and all friends. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Raj Babu sir. It was really very discerning insight into the book. And now we have a virtual message, a video from Dr. Brad Modlin from the University of Nebraska.
Hello, I'm Dr. Brad Aaron Modlin. I met a few of you in Bathinda at the World Poetry Conference a few years ago. I'm a poetry professor at the University of Nebraska at Kearney in the United States. I would like to congratulate Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand on his latest work, Lustus. Once again, Dr. Anand takes on an ambitious project, in this case, a work in response to the great John Milton. Like Milton, in discussing the cosmic, a battle among spirits, Anand also investigates the conditions of us mortals, our greed and our temptations toward power. The character Lustus starts sounding quite human when he says, "The target now is not only the visible world, the real assault is on the virtual mind, the air, the soul, and the consciousness of mankind." And then on every nook and corner of the universe, every part of the cosmic spread to corporatize and finally imperialize. And so, fitting is the name Lustus. It echoes Faustus, who traded his soul to the devil for superhuman powers, and appears here in Dr. Anand's text. And it also pairs lust and us. The lust that is with us, as well as the wicked character's lust for us. While the book of Genesis says humans are made in God's image, Dr. Anand's book points out that we may have some impulses in common with the evil characters of the stories as well. Not all is lost, however, we still have hope, and the text ends with these lines. Lords of creation and well-being, Lustus and his monsters have disturbed the balance of humanity. Men have gone crazy. Rethink how to bring them back from this land of sensations to the world of reality, the world of sanity. For Dr. Anand's contribution to our return to sanity, let's congratulate him. Cheers on your accomplishment.
All right, so next we have Dr. Jas Kohli. Sir, are you there with us? Dr. Jas Kohli?
He was there.
Yes, he's there in the meeting.
Good evening, sir. Dr. Jas Kohli? Sir, please unmute yourself.
Meanwhile, we can invite any other person.
Okay, sir, right. So, Dr. Savita Patil. Dr. Savita Patil.
She was here. Savita. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go
then
ahead.
May I request Shri Ravi Ranganathan ji to please come forward?
Yeah, he's there. Ravi Saab.
Yes.
Welcome, Ravi Saab.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Ravi,
Yes, sir.
good morning. Good evening. Welcome.
Yes, sir. We request you to please
Okay,
share
okay.
your views on
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. And I thank the organizers for having invited me, not only for sharing my views, but also to listen to the precious views of so many eminent people. Yes, Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, is yet another major literary contribution from Dr. Jarnail's prolific pen. I relished it as much as I relished reading some of his other epic works, like Mahabharata, the War of Words, or Master, the Return of the Prophet. A common thread that I see in all these works is the author's uncanny ability to plunge deep into a didactic theme of existence and yet show us more than a glow of light that we can faithfully follow to get out of the rut. There is hope at the end and never a sense of despair. Coming to this book, Lustus, yes, it is a long poem. It is an epic poem. It's a profound poem, partially a parody, partially a satire, genres well under the control of the author. It is about the rise of Lustus, of how he takes over from Satan, of how man can get lost to the devil. And the author rightfully cites the example of how Ravan commits sacrilege and invites his own devastation. Lustus is very much a creation of Kali Yuga. Dr. Jarnail freely brings in characters like Krishna, Ravana, Jesus, Macbeth, Milton, Dr. Foster's Buddha to emphasize his inclusiveness. Earlier I mentioned that there is never a sense of despair. To highlight it, we must understand how sensibly he brings in the power of Shakti in the form of Durga to defeat the evil intentions of Lustus. Agreed that Lustus is only silenced but not destroyed, but that's the reality. Good and evil coexisting. But again, like the message of the Bhagavad Gita, whenever evil gets an upper hand, another force stronger than evil, call it a divine force or a dharmic force, will overwhelm the evil and marginalize it. My best wishes, Dr. Jarnail Sahab. May you continue to be a beacon of light. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for your sagacious and explanation and views on Lustus. So may I request Ambassador Dr. Rahim Karim, sir, are you there with us?
You can invite Just Kohli.
Okay, Dr. Just Kohli.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. How are you, sir?
Going fine, I'm good.
Okay, so Dr. Just Kohli, he is a cosmetic surgeon by profession and a humor writer and poet by passion. His works include 3 humor novels and humor poetry books in Hindi and Punjabi. And he is also founded a nature club. So may I request you, sir, to please share valuable comments on Lustus with us.
First of all, heartiest congratulations to Dr. Anand for this seminal work. And actually, after I started reading Lustus, I felt that Dr. Anand is writing what I've always wanted to say, but I didn't have that medium. So, being a nature lover, I observe nature very closely, and so what we have been taught since childhood is an anthropocentric view of the world. Like all our education, it is from the perspective of man or human or woman, whatever we say. So basically, the lot of the things to which Dr. Anand has drawn attention, this is because of these, because we are going away from the nature. And this problem started with the development of agriculture. Before agriculture was developed, the humans used to live in sync with the nature. And instincts are the same. Instincts haven't changed. But what has changed is the environment. And with the development of agriculture, the humans mind became free, and that led to so many developments, not all negative, lot of positive developments also, but lot of negative things also, which we see in the anomalies which we see in today's world. So because of this disconnect from nature and the anthropocentric thinking, so that is why Lustus is at the fore. And hats off to Dr. Anand for being so candid, and everyone can draw one's own interpretation from the book according to one's perspective. Thank you very much.
So nice of you, Dr. Kohli.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your comments full of intellectual acuity and for your inspiring words. Now, may I request Ma'am Anju Kishore to please unmute. Ma'am Anju Kishore.
I think we are late. Anju is there?
No, he's not there.
I doubt.
Okay, next I call Mr. Leslie Bush. If sir is there with us, please unmute, sir.
I don't think so.
No, see, he's
I
not.
haven't seen him.
All right, then. Do we have Dr. Sandhya K. Rao with us?
Never saw. Dr. Sandhya?
No, she's not there.
She's not there. We are late.
Okay. Up next, Professor Ananta Giri.
No, he's not there, I think.
Okay, Meenakshi Goswami, ma'am, if she's there with us.
No, she's not there.
Chalo, anyone left out?
Dr. Tejaswini, ma'am. I think Ashu ma'am could not join due to some illness. Do we have Professor Seema Jain with us? Seema Jain, ma'am.
Oh, no, she's not there.
All right.
Oh,
When we
Ranveerji, you can
yes.
invite somebody.
Yes, I think Professor Gyan Gului.
Yeah, just invite him.
Yes, Professor Gyan Gului. Yes.
Well, I thank you very much for the invitation. It was really very interesting, and I enjoyed it. Enjoyed any contribution. Well, I would say that what strikes me of this wonderful book is perhaps the Canto 4 and the Canto 5. For these, I would be very much interested, because I think that the contents of these cantos can hold also as a kind of criticism as the phenomenon which now in Europe we would call the so-called transhumanism. That is transhumanism in the sense that, well, the traditional way of seeing man, of looking at man and women are to be abandoned in order to a mix of sexes, a mix an annihilation of all what is tradition and all what was called as ethically true. And I would say that there are parallels between this phenomenon of transhumanism and the position which are criticized in the cantos 4 and 5. I think it is very interesting, and very interesting I find also that the work as a owl, as so to speak, the courage to say that evil exists, because I would say this is perhaps more rather a question, a problem in Western Europe, there is a tendency to say, no, evil does not exist. There is no evil. Actually, it is a false assumption to think and to believe that evil exists. And I think that this is not true, that evil exists. And I think that the book, the cantos can give a very strong confirmation of my assumption, so to speak. And well, I much appreciated the whole work, and in particular Canto 5, 4, and 5. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the invitation. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Gyan Gundri. Yes. So any other?
जो रहते हैं ना फिर उनको बुला लो और वीडियोस जो रहते हैं शो करो.
Yes. I think there is one poet from Punjab, Harinder Chima.
Harinder Chima.
Yes. Harinder Chima. Yes. Ma'am, are you interested in sharing some thoughts on Lustus? Okay. She's taking some time. So meanwhile, we can watch some video for the Lustus. Let me share the screen.
Hello, this is Maya Herman, SEKULIC. Greetings from Belgrade. Hello, this is Maya Herman. SEKULIC. Greetings from Belgrade. I'm sorry I cannot participate this time, but hope to see all of you soon somewhere when this pandemic is over, especially my dear friend and collaborator and all Dr. Janil Anand and all the other members, esteemed members of this conference. Well, first of all, I would like to say that this is an important work of literature, and especially in these very hard times when we see the corporate world taking over all the values that we believed in. Dr. Anand managed to write this masterpiece of satire, which I think would place him in the best tradition of Defoe as the leading satirist of the contemporary world in his masterpiece Lustus, the Prince of Darkness, that I had the privilege to write a blurb for and to read it with the pleasure. So I highly recommend this as a good read. We are like on the brink of Third World War, and we all hope that it will never happen. But being in Europe, it's really hard not to think about it. And to read this piece of literature brings special meaning to it today. This eternal struggle between good and evil. And we can only pray that good will triumph. I also just want to say that Dr. Janil Anand is not only a leading poet and philosopher, but also energizer, a person that should inspire many people and new generations. And he does amazing work, and he's so prolific that it is, I think, unique in this world that is often forgetting about literature and art. So once again, I want to greet him especially and all other friends who are participating in this conference and hope to greet you in person soon.
Thank you. May I invite any other participant? I have invited one of head of the department of General. Sir, are you there?
Me?
No. Head of the department of the General Global University. I think he had just left. So let us watch some more comment. Dr. BAJRAM. So let me just share the screen.
Hello. Hello, dear friend, Professor Yernail Anove, all life in a big world where pain and tears are intertwined into on a braid of every day life. Wonderful in content and full of philosophical reflection in content. The new publication entitled Lustus, Prince of Darkness, invites every reader to reflect deeply. This seems prophetic to the darkness of the human tragedy that takes place during the Ukrainian-Russian war. I have the impression that the title character, Prince of Darkness, is trying to take control of the world. Searching for positive content in this war without prejudice where there is a lot of human pain and tears is impossible. Writing to me that we invite all those who believe that all prophets wanted a better life for man on this earth, and we want a better life for everyone, including nature and all cosmic brotherhood. Thank you, dear friend, for this great distinction for me, seeing me among those for whom peace, love and brotherhood are to unite us in building a better life for all living now and for future generations. Let the creator of this world respect people with nature and timeless brotherhood among the nations of this world. Dr. Ambassador Honoris Causa Polska Zbigniew Rot.
Thank you.
Yes, we have one more.
आप दिखा दें फिर देख लेंगे डॉक्टर मीरा has joined I think.
Yes.
एक वीडियो और है, you go ahead with it.
The epic poetry piece consists of 12 parts, cantos, each part in the modern settings adopted and relevant. The epic poetry piece consists of 12 parts, cantos, each part in the modern settings adopted and relevant to today's times, understandable and distinct, with clear message and meaning. A wise man learns a lesson. Firstly, only God can sway the tree with a force of wind. Secondly, a man with a faith in God cannot be shaken by Satan. Yes, but only briefly. A man repents and Satan never. Man is prone to corrupt and sin, as there is a constant satanic hand over him, but it is a soul and reproves itself. Quran verse. Thirdly, man's greatest enemy in his own ego. It is struggle with oneself. It's a human evil that is spreading across the planet, destroying the humanity. We always ask it and ask ourselves if we can have been saved by too much knowledge, ambitions, without feeling of love, faith, but also fear. As Dr. JAFRI mentioned in his review, don't worry about your husbands. Let them take your children and your kitchen. The Satan strikes at the weakest point and tries to destroy the family unit. The children will be brought up to Satan's desires. This is that vile, vengeful pain to destroy the humankind. Satan shows the followers of God's holy books have destroyed the core message. However, God sent the prophets and his revelations in the books with the truth to prevail, and his hand in the upper. Each revelation of God was sin. The epic poetry piece consists of
Yes, Gautam.
Yes, I think we are done with the four presentations. So any other participant who would like to share? Yes, yes. Harinder Chima had joined.
Welcome.
Yes, yes, ma'am. You are cordially invited to share your thoughts on Lustus.
Good evening, everyone. So I just at the outset would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand for the invite to this brainstorming session. It's such an enriching and such an enlightening session. Though I don't have the book, I know it's on the way, and my apologies, sir, because my book has reached my Jalandhar house, but I'm not there at present. So it'll be soon coming to me. And all I want to say is from what I have gathered from the reviews, from the critical analysis, from the views of other great speakers, it just shows that we have a modern epic today in our hands, created by none other than the great sage poet, as I've always called him, Dr. Jarnail Singh Anand. And I think when you're talking about rejection of knowledge, which is bereft of wisdom, but just see how knowledgeable the creator himself is when he's alluding to great mythological works like the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and other works, Occidental, Oriental. So this exhibits the knowledge of the creator himself. But yes, having said that, I also want to add that knowledge in the right, if you take it in the right direction, is actually promotion of the positive literature, which Dr. Jirnail Singh Anand has been doing through his poetry and through all his works. So my heartiest congratulations, dear sir, on creation of this marvelous modern epic, Lustus, which of course reminds me of Dr. Faustus. So I still have to go through this work. I would be coming up with my own review, but from the articles that you have shared with me and from the knowledge which I have gathered from other speakers, I really feel that this is a work which I'm excitedly looking forward to read. And I think we just stand to gain from this work, because I feel that you have correctly described the evil that is reigning in the modern period that we are living in. So thank you so much, sir. Can't say much because I don't have Lustus in my hand right now. So looking forward to it and wishing you all the success with this work and the future works. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear. You have said so much in
Thank
your
you,
very
sir.
deep words. So nice
Thank
of
you.
you.
Thank you.
Ranveerji, please,
Yes.
is there anyone
I-
or right up?
Just Dr. Frederick from USA, I asked him to invite him. Yes, he's there. Yes,
Okay.
Dr. Frederick. Dr. Frederick, are you there?
I think so.
Maybe some network issue. So I think, may I invite Dr. Kiranpreet to offer vote of thanks?
Is she there?
Yes, he is there.
I doubt.
I think maybe. So you can share your last words or seeds of wisdom, and then we will end the session. Actually, we have managed to think like maybe 2 hours would be the good time, but we have 3.5 hours.
Let me wind it up now with my thanks. Or first of all, for all the friends, readers, and lovers of Lustus who have been sitting for so long with us, sitting through Dr. JAFRI and Khanna Saab and so many others which I see and which are half visible. So all of you deserve a lot of appreciation, lot of respect, and lot of gratitude for your patience, because listening for a long period is quite, you need patience. And for organizing this function, I'm thankful to Randhir Gautamji. He's a wonderful soul. Rather, I will say he's a touched soul, touched, somehow divinely touched. He's always full of, ideas, he's helping, he's organizing function after functioning and bringing the world continents together. That goes to his credit. That is wonderful. And Sarania came. For her, I am thankful to Ravi Saab also. She did the job very beautifully. And Kiran was here with us. All those, Parneet was there. I am thankful to all of you, Dr. BASUDEB Chakraborti, Jafri Saab, Lalit Mohanji, Dr. Molly, Dr. LAKSMISREE. I may be missing some of the names. Dr. RAZDAN, he was here with us. Dr. Dalwinder Singh, Raj Babuji, all of them, gave out their soul to this entire episode. And I am deeply thankful. I hope if you write something about Lustus, do send it to me. because we are coming up with a book of reviews. So that will become a part of that. So I request Khanna Sahab to send your poem, which will be included in the review. That was
excellent.
That is the, I think, apex of this program when you read out your poem.